great-grandfather Zeke Turner instead. The feud between their families had been renewed when Virginia and Jed had a falling out in their early 20s. Then there was the trouble 13 years ago. Noah didn't like to think about that. He still wasn't sure exactly what had happened, except Olivia's father, Dale, had landed in jail, and her mother, Enid, had taken her and her siblings to Idaho for nearly a decade, leaving them with her sister when she ran off with a man and settled in New Mexico. His own mother, Mary, had left home soon after Dale was arrested. Sometimes the disintegration of his and Olivia's family seemed linked in his mind, but it was only coincidence that it happened at the same time. Olivia's dad didn't live long enough to serve out his term. Noah's own father, William, died soon after. Even though the family rivalry hadn't caused this set of problems, the old feud was still in effect. His great-uncle Jed constantly bickered with Olivia's great-aunt Virginia at the Prairie Garden assisted living facility where they both lived. His brother Liam got into fisticuffs with Olivia's brother Lance with depressing regularity. Thank goodness her sister Tori had decamped for Seattle years ago, or who knew what kind of argument she'd have with his sister Stella. As for his youngest sister Maya, who was near to Olivia's age, she and Olivia pretended each other didn't exist. They were like Capulets and Montagues, Cripps and Bloods, or, more apt, Hatfields and McCoys. Which made it damn awkward he couldn't seem to get Olivia off his mind these days. What did she think about him? Did she ever think about him at all? Noah settled his hat more firmly on his head. Probably not. Hell, he'd caught Olivia breaking and entering into his own house just a couple of weeks ago. She wouldn't do that if she liked him, would she? He suppressed a smile. Actually, when he'd caught her, she hadn't been in too much of a hurry to get away. In fact, she'd almost let him drive her to the Spring Fling Fair, except his family had arrived and all hell had broken loose. Maybe she did like him a little bit. But that didn't seem to make their situation any better. She clearly wasn't pleased with whatever her great-aunt was saying now. Noah edged sideways to get a better look. Virginia stood, tapping the ground with her umbrella, giving Olivia what for. As Noah watched, Olivia rolled her eyes and crossed her arms over her chest. Noah wondered what had riled up those two. Not that it took much to rile a Cooper. "What do you think about that?" Maya appeared at his elbow and offered him a plate that held several kinds of dessert. Noah waved it off, and she shrugged, scooping up a bite of cake with her fork. Almost a foot shorter than him, with light brown hair and a pert nose, she stood on tiptoe to try to see. It was obvious she'd been watching the Coopers, too. She might ignore Olivia in public, but privately, she seemed awfully interested in what Olivia got up to. Who knows? He didn't want Maya to catch on that he was awfully interested, too. Life would be a whole lot more peaceful if they hadn't come back to town. She stabbed her fork into the cake again. Don't say that. Why not? Noah thought fast. Thornhill is their home, just like the Flying W is ours. Must have been hard enough for them to stay away as long as they did. What would Maya say if she knew who'd kept the lights on at Thornhill the whole time the Coopers were away? It sure had been a surprise to him when Lucas Maynard, the family solicitor, took him aside after his father's death to explain the job his father had passed on to him. Noah still didn't understand why William was caught up in Cooper affairs. This wasn't the time for that conversation, though. His father had wished to keep the arrangement a secret, and it was all done now. The Coopers were back at Thornhill, running it themselves. He'd kept his mouth shut and spend the rest of his life wondering what had happened 13 years ago to make partners of two men who'd spent their lives on opposite sides of a family feud. "You're always so fair," Maya chided him. "Anyway, it doesn't matter what we think about it. They're here now." "Yes, they are." Noah wasn't sure whether to thank God or curse him for that. Olivia had gotten under his skin good these past few years, and he couldn't shake her off. She kept him up nights, kept him prowling the Dancing Boot, running errands with the hope of seeing her in town, riding down to their western pastures with the hopes of catching a glimpse of her across Pittance Creek. He was acting like a teenager. Hell, he was certainly as frustrated as one. "They're going to win the Founders Prize, too, with that school renovation project they're spearheading," Maya said. "Them or the Washingtons with their reforestation project on the edge of town. Wish we'd thought of that. I know Uncle Jed thinks we can run off with the Ridley property because we donated the high school 100 years ago, but he's wrong. I think we need to make a plan." Noah thought Jed was wrong, too. What kind of plan? The Ridley property was a huge abandoned ranch that abutted the Flying W and Thornhill. It straddled Pittance Creek. Whoever won the Founders Prize would take possession of that ranch and control the floor.